Hey guys, so today is World Earth Day, and because of that I thought I'd announce something which I've touched on when I've spoken about permaculture and our goal for Featherstail. Now, for those of you who have never watched me before, Featherstail is an off-the-grid eco community, and at the heart of it we support special needs children in rural Tanzania who otherwise are not provided with correct care, and their parents are in such desperate poverty the option of correct care is just not even present within the country for them. So we are a charity, and in Tanzania we are an NGO, a non-government organisation. Now, what I am doing with this NGO, what my dream is to create a blueprint for the planet in the term of my lifetime. This is what I would hope to achieve. Whereas using the knowledge we have from practices like permaculture, that we find a way for the environment to support such pockets of society. We find a way for the environment, for the ecosystem to work in line with us, in such a way that it provides enough food and energy for those that are in need on the planet. And indeed can even be replicated for those who are not necessarily in need, for those in the West who we know are in a system which is not working in line with nature or with the ecosystem or with the planet's well-being at the forefront. It's not a moral system, for another way of putting it. Morality is absent from a system which is dominated by corporations. What we hope to achieve is by using the environment to produce enough output of food, clean water. We use solar power for energy. That over the course of my lifetime, in the next 50 years or however long I live, that the system we create not only cares for those persons in our care. The community has currently more than 25 residents living there, many of which children with cerebral palsy, blind children, children who can't walk, children with HIV, persons in palliative care who have HIV/AIDS. We even have persons staying there under protection from domestic violence issues outside in the community. Over the course of my lifetime, the goal would be to replicate Featherstail, to replicate the village that we have built and are building, by not accepting donations for the full term of our life here, but accepting them for a segment, to purchase the land, to set up the system that we dream of having, and then allow Mother Earth to protect and care for us as it does the animals that live in the forests, for example. And in doing that, create enough energy to make a profit from the output of food, to replicate the system we create. If I can create a replicating blueprint like that for Featherstail Children's Eco-Village, then that answers the problem for poverty on the planet without needing technology, without needing to burn fossil fuel technology, without needing lots of modern technology input, by predominantly relying on nature and the organic technology that is nature, and allowing ourselves to plug into that so as it can provide for ourselves and our children here. So this is the goal. So for World Earth Day, I thought I'd announce part of the project. Now, the area I showed at the beginning of the footage is this area in front of me, and this leads down into a valley. At the bottom of the valley there's a river that sometimes has water flowing from it from Mount Kilimanjaro, which is many kilometers that way. This area, for the locals, they don't see it as useful because they can't grow maize and beans. The traditional tribal knowledge of living from such areas has all but vanished due to Western development and influence. What we hope to do with this area, because the locals don't require it, is to either purchase it or lease it long term. And when we do that, we will create a food forest. And that food forest will provide the food, and also, hopefully, if predictions are correct, it will be able to sell food and produce enough income from that to provide the medical care which is needed for those special needs children within our care. Ultimately, within 10 or 15 years, we could be a completely self-supporting charitable community that is here to serve the most impoverished and underserved aspects of humanity, especially those families with disabled children or those families who are sick with such things as HIV/AIDS who can't work. Those persons can live in the community that we are building, and inside that community they can work this land when they have energy to. Those who are able-bodied parents with disabled children can leave them in the care of the other parents while they come to work the land with us, and the land can support them. And if the system is implemented correctly, the land will support them forever. And this is what we're trying to teach. We're trying to bring back a tribal reliance upon nature, as the African tribes relied on for millennia before Western influence. And it's only since the Western influence and population boom that we have the problems that we have all over the planet, with such desperate poverty and suffering and lack of food. I see it here in the most indigenous of tribes is the Maasai. The only suffering they have is sickness, cholera, etc., etc. But when it comes to food and when it comes to housing and shelter, they all care for one another. The tribe still cares for one another, so people don't go without. But here where there's Western influence, they do go without. So this is what I want to announce, is that this land in front of me, we are hoping to acquire. And we believe we can purchase 1 acre for around about £4,000 or $6,000. If we can get to that stage, we can then take the next step with our project, take the next step with our community, take the next step with our way of life in becoming completely self-sufficient. But not only that, this forest houses animals, monkeys, baboons, other wildlife, countless variations of wildlife, bird, reptile, even small mammals, dik-dik, so on and so forth. A hyena as well. The locals kill such animals because they can only use this for growing maize, and monkeys will come and take the maize. So for now, the locals see this land as useless. Unless they plant maize, then they kill the local wildlife. The land is not useless. They just don't know how to work it yet. If we can create even 1 acre where we create food from this land, every single person from all different tribes who own the rest of this forest, which is miles long, will copycat us. And they will stop just cutting down trees wherever they feel, because at the moment that's the only thing they can get from their land is firewood. They will start believing that this land that is deemed as useless is something that can be protected. And I know a saying that many candles can be lit from a single candle. And if you create this in this system, someone adopts it further on and you support them and help them. If in 50 years' time this whole valley was a food forest which lives with nature, not with nature as an enemy, but in line with nature, then this whole valley in Tanzania could be influencing the rest of Tanzania to do the same. And if the whole of Tanzania has such things as food forests all over the place, the rest of the world can only come to adopt the idea as well. What we want to do, first and foremost, is support our children. But what I'm passionate about in my heart is protecting the planet that my children love on. But what's the point in supporting them if they're left with a planet which is ruined? And this is a real possibility, a real option to influence far and wide starting with a tiny section of land. Because if you can do it for one section of land, your neighbour will copy. Their neighbour will copy. And that's all it takes for a domino effect to begin in life. This is how the Industrial Revolution began. One person started industry. So perhaps a spiritual environmental revolution can begin if organisations, non-government organisations and government organisations all over the planet can adopt the concepts of permaculture and the idea that humans can find their position within the ecosystem, within the environment, instead of being an external that sadly beats it into submission a lot of the time. So this will be Feather's Tail Food Forest. And for now, we don't have the resources to go ahead fully. However, I never had the resources 2 years ago to build a village that would support so many special needs children. I never had the resources to support more than 507 children with our children's fund. But we found them, or the universe helped them to find us. So this is what we will do. We just need to find a way to take the next step is all. Okay, much love guys.